What is going on, my petro-powered dudes? I can't believe this. I got a Kawasaki ZH2 to my left here, and this happens to be the first supercharged motorcycle that I get to ride. So there are three bikes in this category, which is the hyper naked category, that are super popular at the moment. Number one, first and foremost, you have the brand new Ducati Streetfighter V4s, producing 205 horsepower. Then you have the Kawasaki ZH2, which produces 197 horsepower. And then you have your KTM 1290 Duke R, which is another liter bike that produces close to 200 horsepower. So I will review the Duke 1290R for you guys in a future episode, but I have already reviewed the Ducati Streetfighter V4s. So if you haven't watched that video yet, make sure to go ahead and watch it. It'll be linked to the top description up above. So there's a ton of information about this bike, a lot of electronics, a lot of gizmos, but I thought I'd make it easier for myself, and I made a little cheat sheet for myself. So as far as the engine is concerned, it has a 998cc four-stroke, four-cylinder engine producing 197 horsepower. But what's wild about this motorcycle, unlike the other two competitors, is that this motorcycle has a supercharger, and the supercharger gives this motorcycle more torque than the other two competitors. The torque on this motorcycle is 101 foot-pounds, which is astronomical. So I'm sure that this thing will feel wickedly fast on the straights. And in the bends, I might be very, very afraid to twist the throttle just even a little bit. Other than that, the motorcycle weighs 520 pounds. So it does weigh a little bit more than the KTM 1290 Duke, and it does weigh more than the Ducati Streetfighter V4s. But I think it compensates itself with the additional amount of torque. Now below that, you get a 6-speed transmission with a slipper clutch, and it has a quick up and down shifter. All right, now moving on to the suspension components on this motorcycle. Kawasaki really didn't cheap out when it came to the suspension work on this bike. For the front suspension, Kawasaki has given it a Showa SFF BP fork with an adjustable compression and rebound dampening, and it also has spring preload adjustability. For the rear, Kawasaki has given it a new Unitrack Showa gas charge shock with adjustable compression and rebound dampening, and it also has preload adjustability just like the front. Aside from that, the tires in the front are 120 and the tires in the back are 190. Typically on a bike like this, you would find it either at a 180 or a 200, but on this particular bike, you got a 190. As far as the brakes are concerned, they're also top-notch quality brakes. We got Brembo dual disc with radial mount M4.32 calipers, and obviously it's ABS equipped. And for the rears, typical of most sport bikes out there, you got a single 260 millimeter pedal style disc and single piston caliper along with ABS. Other than that, the motorcycle has launch control. It has an IMU-based cornering ABS with engine braking control. All this is controlled by the inertial measurement unit. It has full traction control, as you can imagine, and it has two power modes, full and low, typical of Kawasaki motorcycles, such as the ZX6R that I've reviewed on my channel. Oh yeah, this makes it two Kawasaki's that I reviewed on my channel. So if you haven't watched the entire series of the ZX6R videos that my friend lent me the bike for a week, make sure you go check that out as well. So we got a pretty good bike here. We got a lot of different options. We got a supercharger. It's a liter bike along with close to 200 horsepower and 100 foot-pounds of torque. So how bad can it be? Or how good can it be? Let's find out. Now we're going to take it for a little spin. Let's go. All right, first impression turning on this motorcycle. Oh yeah. It's on sport mode at the current moment. We're gonna leave it at that. But I was warned that the throttle on this is very snappy because of that low end torque. So I gotta be really, really careful. Oh wow. He was right. I'm barely touching the throttle in this thing. Oh wow. Oh baby. Oh man. So just like in my other reviews, we're going to be talking about a couple of different things here. We're going to do it in an organized fashion because my brain is all over the place. So the first thing we're going to be talking about is comfort. And the second thing we're going to be talking about is styling. What does it look like when we're actually sitting on the bike? And then we're going to be talking about performance as we take it up the mountain. But right off the bat, I can tell you that this motorcycle is super comfortable. Wow, on long journeys, this bike is upright. For a leader bike, this thing is fully upright. It has cruise control, and it is damn comfortable, man. It's more upright and comfortable than my Street Triple. I did not expect that at all. And what I love is that this thing has a lean indicator. That's so cool. The seat is nice and wide, and I don't really know exactly how tall the seat is. Kawasaki's usually don't make very tall bikes. The ZX6R that I test rode, if you haven't checked that video, make sure to go check it out. That bike is on the shorter side as well, being only 32 inches. So the ZX6Rs, they're perfect for smaller stature people like myself. If you haven't watched my video for short people yet, and you're wondering if this bike is usable for you, I can definitely tell you that I feel super comfortable in this. I also test rode the KTM 890 Duke R. If you haven't watched that video, make sure to go check it out. That has a super high seat, and it felt very much like a supermoto motorcycle. But the seat on that was 33.5 inches, or 33.3 to be exact. So this is on the lower side, and I have no problems feeling comfortable in this bike. The seat is not exactly super plush, but it's not super hard either. It has just enough plushness so it doesn't make the ride uncomfortable. But for long road trips, I would have to do one in order to tell you. Since this is my first time riding the bike, on first impressions, it feels pretty good to my bottom. This bike, I don't think you can do a tuck position with this motorcycle. Sitting on this bike, you're sitting inside of it, the handlebars are higher up, and you're very close to the tank, but it's not something that I feel uncomfortable doing. It's not an uncomfortable, awkward position that I'm in. I'm in 4th gear right now, and I'm giving it a tiny bit of throttle, and this thing has got so much torque. Holy shit! Woo-hoo-hoo! Holy macro! Wow! These twisty roads are where this bike belongs. Oh my god, this is heaven. Now, as far as suspension is concerned, these roads that I'm riding right now, they're pretty smooth roads. There's really not that many bumps on the road, but in terms of rideability, in terms of cornering and handling, it's not a very, very difficult bike to steer around the corners. As you saw, it dances and it glides along and it tracks the turns very, very easily. It's very confidence inspiring. It feels very light. Although the bike weighs over 500 pounds, it feels very light, it feels very nimble. And I think we've come a long way, boys. It's very difficult to buy a bike these days in 2020 and be disappointed in what you find. Between riding the Ducati Streetfighter V4s and riding this, I would have to ride them back to back, but I can tell you this much: this motorcycle has, this motorcycle feels a lot more torquey than that one, and you could just put this thing wherever you want it. Once we go up the mountain,
I will definitely find out for sure, but for first impressions, I can tell you that this thing is very, very flickable. It's 500 pounds, but just like the F900R that I rode and that I owned, the F900R being a 365 pound motorcycle by BMW, this one by Kawasaki at more than that, which is 505. It definitely feels light, and I don't feel like it's a big heavy bike as it is. Looking down below, it looks like a massive bike. The tank is a 5-gallon fuel tank, and of course it has to be, because to power that 998cc, 197 horsepower, 101 foot-pound supercharged monster of an engine beneath it, it needs all that fuel to power this baby up and keep it for long runs. And Kawasaki has done it correctly with this motorcycle. Unlike the Ducati, this motorcycle has cruise control. Why doesn't the Streetfighter have cruise control? I have no idea. Someone's got to call Ducati and make a complaint. Going up and down the gears as I am right now, cruising along in 6th gear, the quick shifter is pretty smooth. Even going down a gear, it doesn't upset the suspension. It's pretty smooth, pretty stable, rock solid. Wow. This thing has got some go. Wow. Holy macro. Wow. Wow. I'm in a leader bike. I keep forgetting. The funny thing is that underneath me it almost sounds like a squirrel, because I hear the little chirps and everything from the supercharger. It's a wonderful sound, but being that this is a naked motorcycle, I hear more of the wind noise in my helmet than I do the exhaust. The pipe on this is a stock pipe, so you can't hear everything. Now the Twisties, to see what this bad boy is like, now we're going to talk a little bit about the power. Oh man, this thing corners so well. It's got so much power! Holy shit! Oh my goodness! Oh wow! This is so much fun to ride. Jeez! Woo! I gotta be careful. Number one, this is not my bike, and number two, I'm not familiar with these roads. Actually, I'm kind of familiar, but not too much. So I can hear more of the supercharger sound now, and it sounds pretty good, man. I've never ridden a bike with a supercharger, and this thing sounds pretty cool. There we go, it's a straight. Wow, it's impossible to pin the throttle on this. You gotta have a runway if you pin the throttle. You gotta have a lot of room to slow yourself down. This mountain is not big enough for a motorcycle like this. You have to be really, really careful and have a lot of skill to ride something like this. Ridiculous amount of speed. As for my skills, I'm not up there, boys. I'm very amateur when it comes to skills. I'm not really used to riding a motorcycle such as this on these kind of roads, but man, for someone that does, and for someone who knows this motorcycle very well, as well as these roads, this is paradise. Now, I'm not sure if you've seen my video, but I took Chris's 675 Daytona here, and that bike for this mountain, it's absolutely perfect. And I also took my R6 up here, so if you haven't seen those two videos, make sure to go check them out. Those two bikes, the 600 class bike is absolutely perfect for this. You can be in 3rd gear and pretty much high on the RPM ranges, but with this, if you're in 3rd gear and past 4,000 RPM, you're in stratospheric speeds. Holy moly. Oh man, this thing corners so well. As far as the brakes are concerned, man, they work very well. Very, very well. I haven't used the back brakes yet, but I'm going to in a little bit just to test them out. But the front brakes, they are bitey. They are very, very bitey, and they stop you very quickly. Very impressive. Once again, this bike feels so light. Does not feel heavy at all. And a road like this, it kind of dances in the corners, throws itself in there, tracks the turns. Overall, I'm pretty impressed. Oh my God, unbelievable the amount of power this thing has. I'm afraid to give it more power than I gave it just now, because you don't know where the next turn is going to come from. And once again, I don't know these roads too well. So better safe than sorry. But there's a little straight right here. Good Lord. I've been in third gear all this time, and I haven't upshifted or downshifted. I haven't felt the need to. I would guesstimate that on typical roads, like regular B roads that you would take to go back and forth to work, shopping, I would think that this bike would do very, very well. And it's a super comfortable bike to ride. So far, I'm pretty impressed with its handling characteristics. I'm pretty impressed with its power, and I'm very impressed with its overall comfort. Big shout out to Chris for letting me ride his bikes. What a nice guy, what a generous person. Thanks a lot, Chris. I know you're watching this. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it for trusting me ride your beautiful Kawasaki motorcycle on this beautiful day in Palomar Mountain. It doesn't get better than this, boys. It does not get better than this. So please do me a favor and give this video a like, and also subscribe to the channel, because me and Chris have been talking and he wants me to continue reviewing his motorcycles. So there's more coming ahead. I plan to review his Streetfighter V4s and compare it to this bike. So there's going to be a comparison video of the Ducati Streetfighter V4s that's right behind me. Chris is riding it against this motorcycle. So that's going to be a hot one coming up after this one. So make sure you guys stick around, like this video, and subscribe to the channel. And now I get to tell you guys how she handles on bumpy surfaces, because going down, as you can see, it's very, very bumpy. And this is what it would be like. This is a good simulation of how this motorcycle would be on typical roads. And I gotta tell you, it is very, very comfortable. And I'm very curious now if the motorcycle has been tuned to Chris's weight or not. So Chris, if you're watching this, and I think you are, let me know in the comments description if the bike has been tuned to your weight or not, because at the current moment it feels pretty good. It's not very harsh, it's not very soft either, but it's exactly where it needs to be. I can see why they gave this motorcycle cruise control, because this is the sort of motorcycle that you would take on long road trips. But man, it's got so much power. Unbelievable how much power this thing has for, oh god, I wouldn't dare call this a cruiser, but you can damn well cruise with it, because it's so upright and so comfortable. Heck yeah. Oh. Wow, that was a big bump I took. And I took it like a champ. And look at that view. Views on views. All right, my boys, let's stop here and admire this view because it is absolutely gorgeous. Oh man, what an amazing bike. This is a sensational bike, man. I absolutely love it. I thought it handled amazing. I thought it had superior amount of power compared to other leader bikes in its class. And I think all that boils down to the 101 foot-pounds of torque. And it's got a ridiculous amount of power because of that supercharger. One thing I noticed about this motorcycle that I didn't notice with the Streetfighter V4s is that not a lot of room to move back here, but when you're sitting on this bike, you're pretty upright and you're pretty high up. And I think this is one of the most perfect bikes to get for long cruises, for long road trips. And I'm very impressed with it. And if you're on the fence about purchasing this bike, I would say go for it, man. I just wish I had the room. I wish I had the money. And I wish Chris can adopt me. Because that would make life a whole lot easier. And I would definitely buy one of these babies. Well, thank you so much for joining me for another episode, guys. Chris, I know you're watching this, so thank you so much for allowing me and being generous with your motorcycle on these beautiful mountainous roads. And for you guys that are watching at home, please give this video a like, please subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the Kawasaki ZH2 comparison to the Ducati V4s Streetfighter. Alright guys, this has been another episode for you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.